Steelworker 105 Political Director, Jay Saxon.
Hello, Clinton, Iowa. Hello, I am Jay Saxon. I'm a retired steelworker, as they mentioned, out of Bettendorf. But Clinton is my hometown, and I'm proud of that. I was born and raised here. My father had businesses here, and I have businesses here. I'm rooted. I love this community. Like you said, I joined the Marine Corps. I left for the Marine Corps, and I've been back here ever since. I love the people. I love the river. I love this area. I love this country, and that's why I'm up here today. But I'm just blown away that I was asked to be up here introducing Senator Sanders tonight. I mean, how does a working guy get this kind of honor? Be at a rally for a future president. So that just doesn't happen. But that's exactly why I support Senator Sanders. I'm supporting him in this effort to become our president because he doesn't bring a famous, familiar face or a well-known celebrity. Senator Sanders has made this campaign and his priorities for our nation about what's right and fair for the everyday people of this nation. People like every one of us here in Clinton tonight. How about that? Is that true? Yes. I don't know about you, but this old man has been waiting a lifetime for a candidate like Senator Sanders. Just like these young people down here in front and around in this crowd, I am feeling the burn. And these folks behind me, how about them up here, huh? Yes. I've been waiting for a president who will put people first and help stop the corporate bribery that we call campaign finance laws. Someone to break the corporate grip on Washington and put the people back in control of our government. We need to end this oligarchy. Until we accomplish this, we'll never get change we need. We'll never get the health plans we need, the health care, or the climate, face the climate issues like we need to. We need a candidate who is not beholden to the corporation, but the working class, who is fully funding a political revolution. Not only is Senator Sanders the only candidate who intends to reverse the damage that Citizens United has done to this nation, he's also the most electable. With over 1 million individual real people, not corporate people, real people that have contributed to his campaign, Bernie is fully funded by working families just like you and I. And as we see around us, he has the appeal to young voters, which is encouraging to me. Because if we can get these young people to the polls, they feel like all the rest of us, they will be the savior of this nation. Our country will be in good hands once they are controlling the votes like they're right there and doing. Thank you. Well, I'm going to cut this short. I want to thank you all for being so welcoming to me tonight. And folks, it was exciting and it's a little emotional because my father helped design and build this building. And so to be up here doing this, so far above my station life, it's incredible feeling. So it's extra special to have the opportunity to introduce the junior senator from Vermont and our next president, Senator Bernie Sanders.
Thank you all. What a wonderful turnout. Any way we can turn down those lights just a little bit, if we could do that, that would be great. Thank you very much. It's great to be back. Today, and let me thank Marcus Morell and the Wayward Engineers for their music. And let me thank Vincente Cruz for his remarks and Thomas Blanchard as well. And let me thank Jay Saxon for that very warm introduction. Jay, thank you. Now, today, we have been traveling all over your beautiful state. And we have been to Norwood, we've been to Decorah, we've been to Dubuque, and here we are in Clinton tonight. And the reason we have selected those 4 towns is that these are 4 towns that in 2012 voted for Barack Obama and 2016 voted for Donald Trump. And you know what? I want to end that business. And in 2020, I look forward to winning this town and winning it big. Now, I'm going to speak for a little bit, and then we'll open it up to your comments and questions. I'll ask you some questions. You can ask me some questions. But I want to start off by saying to the people of Clinton and the people of Iowa, I think I have a sense of why people voted for Trump in 2016. And I think there was a feeling that the Democratic Party have kind of turned its back on the working class of this country. People feel that way? Okay, and we'll talk about that more. I want to engage in that discussion. And Trump came along and he said, I'm a different type of politician, and, I'm going to stand up for the working class, and I'm going to take on the establishment. I saw some of those ads. They were damn good ads. They really were. Very powerful. Problem was he lied. And what we have learned in the last 3 years is that he is a pathological liar. He lies all of the time. So he said that he would stand up for working families. And he said, you remember this? He said, I am going to provide health care to everybody. You all remember that? Well, that's pretty good. I can understand somebody voting for a candidate who says he's going to provide health care to everybody. But in fact, what he ended up trying to do, and thank God by one vote we defeated him, what he tried to do is take away health care from 32 million Americans. Okay? Trump said, I'm going to pass a tax plan. It's going to benefit the working families, the middle class, not the rich. He lied. His tax proposal over a 10-year period gives 83% of its benefits to the top 1%. Trump said, I'm a different type of Republican. I'm not Mitch McConnell and I'm not Paul Ryan. I'm not going to cut Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security. Well, a lot of people are very anxious because that is what Republicans want to do. He said, I'm not going to do that. Check out his last budget, $1.4 trillion in cuts to Medicaid. Medicaid provides a significant amount of funding for nursing homes in this country. You cut Medicaid by $1.4 trillion, you know who's going to be stuck with that bill? You are, for your parents or for people who are disabled. Trump said he wouldn't cut Medicare. Well, really? His last budget had an $845 billion cut over a 10-year period for Medicare. He said he wouldn't cut Social Security. He had a $20 billion cut for Social Security disability. More than that, and what constitutes a pathological liar, is Trump has gone around the country saying, I love American workers, and I'm sick and tired of companies leaving America and going abroad and hiring cheap labor abroad. You heard that 1,000 or 2,000 times? Well, you'll all be interested to know that Trump owns a variety of companies, and one of his companies manufactures ties. I try to wear a tie as infrequently as I can, but in the Senate, you gotta. But you know where his ties are manufactured? That's right. Okay. Trump manufactures clothing. You know where that's manufactured? No, Mexico. This is a harder one. Trump apparently has a furniture line. You know where that furniture is manufactured? Turkey. All right, there you go. Trump manufactures picture frames. You know where those are made? India. And Trump manufactures shirts in Bangladesh where workers are paid about 30 cents an hour. So we say to Mr. Trump, if you want companies to come back to this country, and let me make my line, you took it away from me. Jeez, just about to say it. Just kidding. But that is the point. If Trump wants to tell other companies to come back here and create good paying jobs in America, he might lead by example, right? All right. So I say all of those things to tell you that, I'm very often asked by the media, and they say, well, President Trump said this, what do you think? And I said, I can't comment because in an hour or a day, it will be completely changed. That's true, and that's what I say, and that's what usually happens. But one thing that Trump is doing above and beyond everything else that bothers me very much, we can have disagreements on trade policies, we can have disagreements on healthcare and education, but when you are the President of the United States of America, you should understand that your main job, one of your main jobs, is to bring the American people together, all right? To bring the American people together. My father came to this country from Poland. Your parents came, or grandparents came from somewhere else. We have all kinds of different people in America. And the function of a president is to bring us together. And what this president has been doing uniquely in an incredibly ugly way is trying to divide us up based on the color of our skin, based on where we were born, based on our sexual orientation, based on our religion. And that is unacceptable for a president of the United States. And what our campaign... And what our campaign is about is exactly the opposite of what Trump is trying to do. He's trying to divide us up. We are trying to bring our people together, white and black and Latino, Native American, Asian American, gay and straight, people born in America, people who have immigrated to America. We're trying to bring our people together around an agenda that works for all of us and not just the 1%. That's what this campaign is about. And what this campaign is also about, and I'm the only candidate running for president who has ever said this, but it's true, and I want to discuss this later on. And I want to ask you to think about this, is the message of our campaign is us, not me. Why is that? It's not just a bumper stick, it really is not. And it has to do with two profound points, I think. First of all, I think all of us in this room hold a very different view of what human life is supposed to be about than Donald Trump. Trump and a certain sector, small sector of powerful and wealthy people, they believe that what life is about is lying, cheating, stealing, doing anything you can in order to make as much money as you can and have as much power as you can. I see that all the time in Washington, D.C. Not a whole lot of people, but a small number of people with incredible wealth and incredible power. And that is what they believe. Doesn't matter. In his private life, before Trump became president, an amazing fact, Trump was involved in thousands of lawsuits as a business person. How are you involved in thousands of lawsuits? It's because you lie and you cheat and you break contracts. And that is their mentality. Now, our mentality, my mentality, is a very different mentality. I believe that as human beings, we are better and stronger when we care about each other. Right? Life is not easy. Life is hard, and every family in the country has setbacks. But we are stronger when my family cares about your family and your family cares about my family, and we understand that in this struggle called life, we are in it together, that we don't turn our backs on people who are struggling. And the second point that I want to make, and I want to get back to this point later in the question and answer, because I'm the only candidate running for president who will tell you this, is that the reason we talk about us, not me, is that no president of the United States, not Bernie Sanders or anybody else, can do it alone. A president has a lot of power, no question. But when you are taking on Wall Street and the insurance companies and the drug companies and the fossil fuel industry and the military industrial complex and the prison industrial complex and the power of the 1% and the corporate media, which is owned by that 1%, that's not easy stuff. And the only way that change has ever taken place in America, I want you all to think about it. Think about the change brought by the labor movement, by the women's movement, by the civil rights movement, by the gay movement, by the environmental movement. What they all have in common is not that some president woke up one day and say, oh, I'm going to sign a civil rights bill, or I'm going to make it easier for workers to join unions. What all of those movements have in common is that they involved millions of people who stood up and demanded justice. They demanded justice. And if we are going to create a government based on the principles of justice, whether it's economic justice, social justice, racial justice, environmental justice, we're going to have to take on some very, very powerful people. And I will be proud to lead that effort, but I cannot do it alone. So I'm here tonight to ask for your help and to win here in the Iowa caucuses. And with your help, I think we're going to do just that. And I'm here to ask for your help to help me win the Democratic nomination. And then I'm asking your help to help me come back here to Iowa to defeat the most dangerous president in the modern history of America. All right? But I'm asking something more. I am asking for your help the day after we together are inaugurated to help me transform this country. All right, to help us create a government and economy that kind of works for all of us and not just wealthy campaign contributors. To understand that the people who've created this wealth in this country are the working people of this country and not the billionaires and the Wall Street executives. So I'm going to come back, figuratively at least, if not literally, and ask for your support to help me take on enormously powerful special interests. All right, we okay on that one? Now, I just want to briefly go over what a progressive agenda is about, an agenda that works for working people and not just the 1%. For a start, it is my view that anybody who works 40 hours a week should not be living in poverty. I have gone all over your beautiful state. I was just in Des Moines the other day, and I was talking to a woman with 3 kids who works at McDonald's who makes $10 an hour. And you know what? You don't raise 3 kids, you don't raise 1 kid on $10 an hour. And that is why together we're going to raise that minimum wage to at least $15 an hour. And right now in our country, in a shameful manner, women are making 80 cents on the dollar compared to men. We're going to end that. Equal pay for equal work. And there's something else, and tomorrow I think we have a meeting in Davenport with a bunch of trade unionists. It's an issue that I feel very strongly about. There are millions of workers in this country who want to join unions but are unable to do so because of illegal employer opposition. Organizers get fired, etc. We are going to pass legislation which will make it easier for workers to join unions, and we're going to double in a 4-year period the number of workers in this country who are in unions. Four years ago, I came here to Iowa, and I came here as somebody who nobody knew. I was about 50 points down in the polls, and I had this long agenda. And when I first got here, a lot of people said that I was crazy. Well, they still say that I'm crazy, but it's all right. And that my ideas were too extreme and too radical. And one of the ideas that I talked about was making public colleges and universities tuition-free. All right? Because I believe that in this day and age, our young people need to have the education that is necessary for them to go out and get the good-paying jobs that are out there. And I believe that it is totally absurd that young people are leaving college $20, $30, $50, $100,000 in debt. Now, 4 years ago, when I proposed that idea, it was thought to be a very radical idea. Well, guess what's happening all over the country? You got 12 states that are already moving in that direction. You may have read just a week ago, that in New Mexico they're going to make all of their public colleges and universities tuition-free. Right now, major medical schools like NYU, New York University, Columbia, Cornell, recently announced they're going to have tuition-free medical school. Okay? So what we have done is started a trend, and as president, we will make certain that every young person in this country either has the opportunity, if he or she wants to, go to college, or for many other kids, they don't want to go to college. They want to become carpenters or sheet metal workers or plumbers. Those are great jobs, and we need those skilled workers. We're going to provide free tuition for the trade schools that those young people need to get that kind of training. And because I'm asking you to think big and not small, I want you to think about this one. 11 years ago, some of you may remember, against my vote, the U.S. Congress provided $700 billion in order to bail out Wall Street, and the Federal Reserve provided trillions of dollars in zero-interest loans to bail out the crooks on Wall Street whose illegal behavior nearly destroyed our economy. A couple of years ago, Trump and his friends gave over $1 trillion in tax breaks to the 1% in large corporations. If those guys can do that for the people on top, we can cancel all student debt in this country. And there's another issue that I have been, by the way, speaker guy, can we make the speaker, the microphone a little bit louder, please? If that's possible. There you go. An issue that I have been working on my entire adult life is the firm belief that health care is a human right, not a privilege. We were in, I think it was Decorah, earlier in the day. There was a guy in the audience. We were talking about healthcare, and he jumped up and he said, you know, I'm from Australia. In Australia, it's not a big deal. You go to the hospital, you come out, there's no bill, of course. You go to any doctor you want. I live 50 miles away from the Canadian border. Anybody here know that if in Canada you have a heart transplant and you're in the hospital for a month, do you know what the bill is when you get out? Zero. You go to any doctor you want, you go to any hospital you want, the quality of care is as good or better than it is in the United States. And yet we are spending here, I want you all to hear this because I'm going to be taking on the whole world on this issue. We are spending twice as much per person on health care as do the people of any other country. We are spending, unbelievably, about $11,000 for every man, woman, and child in this country. Canada, it's about half of that. And yet, despite spending so much money, we have 87 million people in America who are either uninsured or underinsured. And I want to emphasize the word underinsured, because very often politicians will say, well, you got insurance. Check it off. She has insurance. Well, that insurance may not mean anything when you get sick or end up in the hospital, all right? So when I talk about Medicare for all, and it's important that you understand this, what we're talking about is similar to what goes on in other countries. There are no premiums, okay? You are not going to pay a premium. Your employer is not going to pay a premium. There are no co-payments when you go to the doctor. There are no out-of-pocket expenses. None. You do not take out your wallet. You do not take out your credit card. We had a meeting yesterday in Des Moines, and it's on our social media. Check it out if you have a minute. It was a very, very difficult meeting because we were talking to people who had been impacted by medical debt, people who could not afford health care, people who lost loved ones because of the cost of health care, all right? And that people who don't, you know, as a nation, we lose about 30,000 people a year who don't go to the doctor when they should because they're uninsured or they are underinsured. And I want you to think about this for a moment. When you talk about a cruel and dysfunctional healthcare system, think about it. In America, 500,000 people a year go bankrupt because of medical bills. Think about it. You walk into the doctor's office, you're feeling sick. You walk into the doctor's office, the doctor says, I have bad news for you. You have cancer. All right, your head is reeling, right? What am I going to do now? What doctor do I go to? What treatment do I go to? What hospital do I go to? How am I going to, deal with not being able to go to work and take care of my family? You got all that stuff running around your head. And then on top of all of that, what you have to worry about is that after the treatment is over, whatever it may be, 50,000, 100,000, whatever it may be, your family may go bankrupt or be in financial ruin. For what crime did you commit? That you came down with a terrible illness. That is insane. That is cruel. That is immoral. And we are going to put an end to that. Now, I want to say another word, because I'm going to treat you with intelligence, unlike some politicians, like a lot of politicians. Healthcare is not free. Healthcare is expensive. You all know that. Somebody's got to pay it. What I believe is that we should do what every other major country on earth does and pay it out of the general tax base, okay? And our bill, the bill that I wrote, does the following. No more premiums. This morning, at a meeting, woman gets up. She said, my premium was, just for herself, before she got on to Medicare, it was $1,700 a month, okay? Which is about $20,000 a year. You will talk later on, you'll tell me what your premiums are, what they may be. But all of that's gone. No more out-of-pocket expenses. Nobody in America pays more than $200 a year for prescription drugs, because we're going to take on the greed and the corruption and the price fixing of the pharmaceutical industry. All right? So what we do, and there's going to be a lot of demagoguery on this issue. So what we say is no more premiums for you or your employer, no more out-of-pocket expenses, no more co-payments. We pay it out of the general tax base. Under our bill, anybody making $29,000 or less does not pay a nickel in additional taxes. If you're making more than $29,000, you will pay more. But for the overwhelming majority of the American people, except the very, very wealthy, you will be paying less for health care than you're currently paying, because there will be no more premiums, no more out-of-pocket expenses, no more co-payments, okay? So I'm telling you the truth on that one, and it's important that we know it. For the overwhelming majority of the American people, you will be paying less for better health care, because what we do, this health care that we're talking about, is comprehensive. Every time I go to a meeting, somebody says, well, does it cover mental illness? Yes, it covers mental illness. Does it cover this illness? Yeah, it does. And I'll tell you what we also do. Medicare is a good program, but not as strong as it should be. We expand Medicare to cover dental care. That an issue? Hearing aids. Hearing aids. A lot of elderly people have a hard time affording hearing aids and eyeglasses as well. So it is comprehensive health care. You go to same doctor you always have gone to. The color of your card is changed, and you don't have to take out your wallet. That is called a humane, civilized health care program, and that's what we're going to fight for. Now, there's another issue that's out there, which, is so important that it troubles me. I am critical of Trump for everything, but on this one, he is not only endangering our country, he is endangering the entire planet. Trump believes that climate change is a hoax. Trump is dangerously, dangerously wrong. all right? Unlike Trump, I will listen to the scientists and not just to the fossil fuel industry. And what that means, what the scientists are telling us, I don't know how much you've been studying it. Last report that came out from the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, these are climate scientists from all over the world. What they said is we have fewer now than 11 years to transform our energy system globally, or else there will be irreparable damage done to our country and the world. Anybody with eyes can see what is going on. You all saw what happened in the Bahamas, the devastation that took place a few weeks ago. You remember what happened in Puerto Rico. You remember Hurricane Katrina, what it did to New Orleans. You know the flooding that takes place in Charleston, South Carolina. What they are talking about, what the scientists are saying, you know, as human beings, it's hard kind of. We always think that next year is going to be like last year. It's kind of the way we all think. That ain't the case. What they're talking about is rising sea levels that will put parts of Miami, New York, Charleston underwater. That's true for coastal cities all over this country. We're talking about extreme weather right now. Just a few days ago in Texas, they had unprecedented flooding, incredible amounts of rainfall falling in a short period of time. I was out in Paradise, California. Does that name mean anything to anybody? You remember what happened out there? I was out there a couple of months ago. It's unbelievable. California was in the midst of an unprecedented drought, and this small town of 26,000 people was basically decimated. 86 people died. I talked to some people who thought they were going to die. Unbelievable. 18,000 buildings, structures destroyed, $16 billion in damage incurred in one small town. Over in Europe, they had a heat wave this summer. Many people died. Right now in Bolivia, as we speak, there are forest fires raging there because of their drought. What you are looking now is at a global crisis of unprecedented magnitude. And, you know, as the father of 4 and as the grandfather of 7 beautiful grandchildren, I believe that I have, and I believe that all of us have, a moral responsibility to make sure that these beautiful kids that we see here, that little one and you as well, have the opportunity to grow up in a country and on a planet that is healthy and is habitable. That's our moral responsibility. And that is why I am very proud that a couple of weeks ago we introduced the most comprehensive and aggressive climate change program ever introduced by a presidential candidate, and I suspect by any candidate running for federal office. It is very, I am criticized. People say, Bernie, it is a very expensive program you're talking about. And they are right, it is very expensive, although we pay for it in a variety of ways, but it is very expensive. But I ask my critics, tell me what the alternative is to trying to save the planet. Tell me, what is too much to spend when we're talking about making sure that these kids have a healthy and habitable planet in which to live? So we are going to take on the fossil fuel industry, and we are going to tell them that their short-term profits are not more important than the future of this planet. Let me just touch on briefly a few other issues of great importance. We have a criminal justice system, and the more I study the system, the more it infuriates me. It is a broken system. It is a racist system. It is a system that has more people in jail than any other country on earth. Think about it. China is a communist country, authoritarian country, 4 times our size. We have more people in jail than China does, all right? So what I intend to do as president is prepare a budget which invests in our young people, the kids who otherwise will fall through the cracks, the kids that drop out of school, the kids that end up on the streets, and invest in our young people in jobs and education. It costs a lot more to lock up a kid than send him or her to the University of Iowa. We're going to invest in education. We're going to invest in job training. I'll tell you what else we're going to do. We're going to end private prisons in America. We are going to end the war on drugs. I am amazed. I've been running around the country lately, and I often find myself on college campuses. And I ask the young people there, I'm not going to ask people here tonight, but I ask the young people, tell me, how many of you know somebody who has been arrested for possession of marijuana? And the hands shoot up. There you go, there's some right here. All right. I talked to a guy last week in South Carolina, African-American guy, and he said, you know, I got in trouble. I did dumb things when I was young. I got a criminal record. I suspect it was drugs. He didn't tell me. And then he said, I went out trying to get a job. And guess what? I couldn't get a job. So he ended up successfully starting a very good business himself. But all over this country, people have criminal records because of possession of marijuana. Sometimes it keeps them from going to school. Sometimes it keeps them from getting a job or apartment or whatever it may be. So I think, and I'll tell you something else. This is amazing. Go to Nevada. As you can see, I travel a bit. Go to Nevada. And they have these big billboards. I don't know if you've ever seen them. And that is, buy this or that brand of marijuana. Do you ever see this? They're advertising hemp, okay? And I'm thinking that there are people in jail for doing exactly what these large corporations are doing, selling marijuana. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me. So we are going to expunge those records and give people a clean start. We have a president who demonizes undocumented people, of which there are about 11 million in this country. As president, we're going to end the demonization, and we are going to provide comprehensive immigration reform and a path toward citizenship. We are going on my first day in office through executive order, restore the legal status of 1.8 million young people in the DACA program. And we will develop a humane border policy, a policy which does not allow federal agents to tear babies from the arms of their mothers and lock up children. All of us have been horrified and disgusted by turning on the TV and hearing about another mass shooting. And all over this country, we have seen these mass shootings. They take place every day, but you don't necessarily hear about them because only 2 or 3 people got shot, rather than 20 people. What Congress has got to do, and as president, what I will do, is nothing more radical than what the American people want. What is interesting is that over the years, there's been a change in attitude toward gun safety. And that is true in rural states like my own state of Vermont, which is a very, very rural state. A lot of people own guns and a lot of people hunt. True in urban areas like Chicago, LA. It is true for gun owners and true for non-gun owners. And the American people want us to take action to do everything humanly possible to stop these mass killings. And what the American people want is not complicated. What they want is to expand the background checks to make sure that if somebody buys a gun, that person does not have a violent history. That's what overwhelmingly, like 90+% the American people want that. The American people want to end the gun show loophole where people can evade the background check. They want to end the straw man provision where people can legally buy guns and then sell them to criminal elements. And more Americans, a strong majority now, want to ban the sale and distribution of assault weapons in this country. And that's my view. Last point that I want to make, well, almost the last point, is I know that in this state you have a governor and you have a legislature that will disagree with what I'm saying. But I believe that it is women who should control their own bodies, not the government. And my promise to you is that I will never nominate somebody to the U.S. Supreme Court who does not 100% believe in Roe v. Wade. All right, let me conclude, and then we'll open it up to your comments and questions. Let me conclude by saying this. What I fear very much is that this country, and this is above and beyond Trump, this country is moving into an oligarchic form of society. These are issues you don't see on television. They're not really discussed. And I want you all to think about the morality, the economic sense of 3 people in America owning more wealth than the bottom half of American society. You got that? 3 people. Of the top 1% owning more wealth than the bottom 92%. Of 49% of all new income. You got people in this state working 2 or 3 jobs. 49% of all new income goes to the top 1%. And I want you to think about that over the last 30 years in this country, the top 1% has seen its wealth increase by $21 trillion, while the bottom half of America, people who live in paycheck to paycheck, like my family did, have seen their wealth decline by $900 billion. You got that? Top 1%, $21 trillion increase in wealth. Bottom half of America, $900 billion decline in wealth. That is, in my view, not what this country is supposed to be about. So tonight, although I suspect there are not too many billionaires in this room, what we are saying to the billionaire class is stop the greed. Stop the greed. Stop the corruption. Stop stepping on everybody in order to make more and more billionaires. It gets disgusting. I'm what's called the ranking member, the leader of the opposition on the budget committee in the Senate. And you got these guys coming in, literally came in from Wall Street. These people who have incredible retirement benefits, incredible health care benefits. And they come in and they say, oh, we want you to cut Social Security, cut Medicare, cut Medicaid, and by the way, lower taxes for large corporations. We're going to stop that greed. We are going to stop that greed, and we're going to create an economy and a government that works for all of us and not just them. So, thank you. All right, let me start off by asking you a question, and then you ask me a question. And here's my question. It's a very, very simple question. I asked it earlier today. Earlier in the day, no, yesterday, I was in a high school in Des Moines. And I asked the kids about income and wealth inequality, and kids were very shy about talking about it. And I have the feeling that if we were here to talk about pornography, more people would talk about that than income and wealth inequality. Why don't we talk? Why doesn't Congress talk about it? Why doesn't the media talk about the grotesque level of income and wealth inequality? Who has thoughts on that? I'm curious to know what you think. Why is that? You got 3 people owning more wealth than the bottom half of America. And that gap between the very rich and everybody else is growing wider. Why aren't we talking about it? Why isn't that a front page story every day? Why isn't Congress trying to deal with this? Why isn't the media having specials on this? Who has thoughts on it? Sir, do we have, Mr. You got a mic? There's a gentleman over in the orange shirt. If you could stand up and give us your name, please.
Mark Letting.
Mark.
Is it on?
Yeah.
Okay. Mark Letting. It's because they own the media. So they're not going to talk about it.
Okay. How many people agree with that? Okay. Other thoughts on that issue as to why we don't discuss it Yes, right here. Yes. Yep, stand up. Misty, bring it up, Mike. Misty's coming around. She's a fast runner. Here she comes. Yeah, grab the mic and hold it close to your mouth.
I know.
Hold it close to your mouth.
Oftentimes in my work contracts, we were specified that we cannot talk to each other about what we make at work.
Yep. Okay. Further thoughts? Is this an important issue? Yes. Do we talk about it enough? No. Yes, I see a hand way in the back there. Misty, I'm sorry to keep you running here. Misty, by the way, is our Iowa campaign director.
There's also the so-called prosperity gospel, the one that says that people who are wealthy are especially divinely favored. And I think that has penetrated more than we realize into the society, and we're just reluctant to criticize them for that reason.
I think that is an excellent point. So somehow, you know, my dad came from Poland at 17 without a nickel in his pocket. He never made any money. I lived my whole life as a kid in a rent-controlled apartment in Brooklyn, New York. I never thought of my father as a failure or as a, less than successful person. He did really well, and he took care of his family. And I'm thinking here about a meeting that I held somewhere in Iowa with a woman. I'll never forget this. This woman was a Latino woman who was a home health care worker. She made $13 an hour, and every day she went to a number of homes. She helped people cook, made the beds, do whatever you do. And sometimes she told us she took money out of her own pocket. She didn't have a lot of money because people that she was taking care of were so poor and desperate. That is somebody who is a great success to my mind. The teachers who are getting inadequately paid, who are doing everything they can, sometimes taking money out of their pockets to buy school supplies, working hard to educate our kids. Those people are successes and heroes and heroines. And I think your point is well taken. We have been trained to believe that the only people we should admire are people who make billions of dollars. And I think we got to rethink that value system big time. Okay. Okay, question for me. Yeah, the young lady right here. Stand up.
Hi, I'm Isabella Wall, she, her. Have you given any thought to who you might choose as for your vice president?
You looking for a job? No, I haven't. But I think it will be safe to say that it will not be an old white guy. I think we'll have a little bit of diversity there. And by the way, this is what I will say, is that my administration will look like America. Trump's, who's going to take on the whole establishment. He has more billionaires in his administration, I think, than any president in American history. I think it's safe to say my administration will not be loaded with billionaires. It'll be loaded with working people, with teachers, with people who understand what real life is about in America. Those are the folks we will have in our administration. And they will also, from a racial and ethnic point of view, they will look like America as well. Okay, other questions? Yes, ma'am, right here. Yes, stand.
I'm a caregiver.
Okay.
For my husband. I want him in a nursing home.
Good.
He doesn't walk.
Hold it, get the mic. No one's hearing you. Misty, what? I know you do, but here, now it's going to be bigger.
That's okay. I'm a caregiver. My husband's in a hospital bed. He doesn't walk anymore. Medicare says he has to see his doctor twice a year. I have no problem with that except one thing. How do I get him there without costing me $800 a trip to take him to the doctor?
That would cost $800?
Yeah.
Wow.
And
All
they
right, let
don't,
me just...
Medicare does not reimburse me.
Well, you know what
to do that.
Medicare for All does? It reimburses and covers home health care. How's that? And if you got to go to the doctor, it will cover that as well.
I told the doctor, come to my home. He comes to Medical Associates 3 blocks from my home, and he won't do it.
Okay. All right. But we are going to expand Medicare coverage. All right. We're going to make it better than it is. And don't let, Donald Trump will be up on television telling you Bernie's idea, it's going to destroy Medicare for seniors. It is not. We're going to improve it. Right now, you're on Medicare? You don't get dental care. You don't get eyeglasses. You don't get hearing aid covered. Home health care is not covered. We cover all of that under our bill. Okay. All right. Okay. Yeah, hold on for 1 second. I'm going to get back to you. You're next. All right, but I want to, now it's my turn. It's one of the advantages of having the microphone here. All right, now I'm going to ask a hard question. Hard question. I'm here tonight, and I've been in 3 other towns in Iowa today, because Obama won here in 2012, Trump won here in 2016. Why? All right, I want somebody to help me out here. No. Just raise hands. I want somebody to give me a gentleman way in the back. Misty, can you get a mic? Please stand up if you can.
Because people were so upset with Hillary Clinton, we thought it was skewed, that you truly won, and that the Democratic Party skewed that.
Okay. But that still doesn't explain to me fully why Clinton won. I see a gentleman right here, sir. Why Trump won? Yep. Here's a mic.
Basically, my first campaign was for John F. Kennedy. However, I've watched campaigns ever since. Campaign for Clinton, he won. Had a majority in the Senate, majority in the House. Damn it, he didn't do anything for organized labor. I'm sorry. Obama won, he had a majority in the Senate, he had a majority in the House. Did not come through on these important issues. I don't care if you win, you have to help the people that put you there, or they're not going to put you there a second time.
What is your name, sir? What's your name? Your name?
Oh, Art Donner.
Art? How many people agree with Art? Okay. I agree with Art. And I'll tell you a story, if I may, be self-serving here. I was elected mayor of the city of Burlington, Vermont, way back in 1981. And because we focused attention on the needs of working people in my city, and we kept our word, over a 4-year period, 2 years before I was elected to 2 years after I was elected, we doubled voter turnout. We doubled voter turnout because people understood that government could do good things for them, all right? And I think when people do not see government responding to their needs or ignoring their needs, they become alienated from the political process, or they vote the other way. Any more discussion on this one? Anyone have anything to add to it? Yes, ma'am.
I think a huge reason why Trump won is because at a certain point, he did start speaking a populist message, copying you, and people wanted that message, and they felt that message, and they just, you know, if they had been Republicans forever and they wanted to believe it was true coming from him, but the message is yours. That's right. It's Bernie's message, and it's always been your message, and you are awesome.
Thank you. Okay, sir, you got a question? You have a question?
Yeah, my question was, you know, I've get used to this. I chose to come out of the closet now. I'm a proud gay American. And I'm also disabled, but my question is, you know, I'm tired of the divide and conquer type of thing. It's just ridiculous. I think we should debate again and everything. I mean, I think Medicare should be a human right. I think it should be added to the Constitution. I think clean air and clean water should be added to the Constitution. I read one time they said Constitution Amendment, you can't make any more than $1 million, which is rather interesting. I think they also should leave alone Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid and everything. I think that should be a human right and should not be ever played football with again.
Well, let me respond 2 points. Number one, we are going to run an administration which does everything humanly possible to end all forms of discrimination in this country. Discrimination against the gay community, African Americans, Latinos, Muslims, Jews, anybody. We're going to try to follow what Martin Luther King Jr. told us. Judge people on their character, who they are as human beings, not on superficial differences. All right. All right. Anybody have one last question? I think we're going to get going soon. Okay, sir. Yeah. Wait for the mic.
My name's Cole. I'm a healthcare provider in this community. And here we have one pediatrician and a limited number of primary care providers. So how does Medicare for All plan to compensate for the large influx in patients that we can't accommodate here in a 100-bed hospital?
Good, great question. And you might want to add to that throughout rural America, hospitals are shutting down, making a bad situation worse. Your first name is, I'm sorry? Cole. All right, let me tell you what I have already done, Cole, and certainly what we will do on the Medicare for All. What I have done as a senator is expanded community health centers all over this country to the tune of, I think, 9 million more people can now walk into what we call a federally qualified community center. You familiar with that? And you get health care, dental care, mental health counseling, and low-cost prescription drugs. Your point is a very good point, that in the midst of a dysfunctional healthcare system, our primary care system is in even worse shape than the general system, and that millions of people, even with insurance, cannot find a doctor. There are counties, I'm not familiar with Iowa, but there are counties all over this country, in Mississippi, Kansas, there are no doctors. All right, so what we're going to do, because we are going to eliminate student debt in this country, we're going to free and give incentives to doctors to go to underserved areas. Right now, I significantly increased funding for what we call the National Health Service Corps. You familiar with that? And that means it says that if you are prepared to serve in an underserved area, we're going to forgive all of your student debt. Those are the kinds of incentives we need. What happens right now is if a doctor graduates with $300,000-$400,000 in debt, do you think that doctor's going to rural Iowa? I don't think so. Going to Park Avenue, going to someplace where you make a lot of money to pay off that debt. But what we will do, we need more doctors in this country. We need more nurses in this country. We need more dentists in this country. And we need to get those people into the rural areas and the urban areas where they are most needed. So your point is well taken. Medicare for All alone doesn't solve it. I can give you free health care, but if there's no doctor around, it ain't going to do you any good. All right, so we are conscious of that. We're going to grow the number of doctors and nurses and nurse practitioners and dentists and create incentives to get those folks into the parts of the country where they are needed the most. All right, let me just conclude by thanking you all for coming out tonight. And for saying this. I deal as a United States Senator with very powerful people in this country. You know, I deal with Wall Street and the insurance companies, the drug companies, all these guys. And I deal with the 1%. And they are do not ever, ever, ever underestimate their wealth and their power. They have endless amounts of money. Last year, as I mentioned earlier, the healthcare industry made $100 billion in profit. 1% of that, $1 billion, could flood this whole country with TV ads and radio ads and newspaper ads, all kinds of stuff. They are very, very powerful. But we are the 99%. And the last that I heard is that 99% is a lot bigger number than 1%. And if we stand together, we understand that in this room, I'm sure there are people, I'm sure that not everybody agrees with everything that I said and so forth, and we have disagreements. But if we stand together and we do not allow Trump and his friends to divide us up by the color of our skin or where we were born or our religion or our sexual orientation, if we stand together and fight for an agenda that works for all of us, we can transform our economy and transform our government and do extraordinary things. And that's a journey that I look forward to going forward with you on. Let's go forward together. Let us transform this country. Thank you all very much.